Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And as I'm doing this video, we have recently had the California wildfires. And they feel like, well, the LA wildfires, and some people may think that it's symbolic of a lot of the demonic and devilish things that are taking place in Hollywood and in LA. Now that we have this Puffy saga, this Weinstein issue, Bill Cosby issue, Hollywood in and of itself, what does it represent? But what people don't also know is what state has the highest number of cults. It is California. And I want to talk about one that has been around since the 60s. Many people are always trying to, or sometimes trying to seek help, whether it's through friends and family or therapy or a loved one. And sometimes when they can't find that vantage point, they will join cults. And we know all of the negative imagery and symbolism behind cults. But this one has been out since the 60s. And at least two major actors and actresses grew up and have been associated with this cult. JOAQUIN PHEONIX and his family, and of course Rose McGowan, who grew up in it. And I want to just shed some light on this cult out of California that has been around for a very long time and is still in existence today. And of course, there are all kinds of rumors and negative innuendos associated with it. It's called the Children of God, the history and teachings of this notorious cult. Children of God is a religious group that originated in California in 1968. That's 56, almost 57 years ago. Because its leaders have historically limited members' access to the outside world and asked them to give up their money and worldly possessions, Children of God is generally considered a cult. The group became notorious when news stories emerged accusing its members of essaying children. Children of God, now known as the Family International. So it has changed and is still active today. So COG, Children of God, is known today as Family International. So this is a video to raise awareness. The cult's early beginnings are rooted in the counterculture movement of the late 1960s. Founder David Brant Berg, a pastor and evangelist for the Christian Missionary Alliance, became the leader of a youth ministry called Teen Challenge in Huntington Beach, California in 1967. Berg recruited his group members out of the hippies and outcasts that flocked to Southern California during the free love era, and organized a group of young people to roam the streets, proselytizing about the love of Jesus. In 1969, Berg left the National Teen Challenge group and formed his own group called Light Club. Now look at how many times this organization has changed names, which eventually became known as the Children of God. So it went from being known as, it's Family International today, Children of God. Also, it was known as Teen Challenge, and then it went to Light Club. He changed his name to Moses David, Mr. Berg did, and married a second wife, stating that polygamy was sanctioned by the Old Testament. He told his followers that God had appointed him as the end of time prophet. Don't they all say this, these cult leaders? and that he would be playing a significant role in the second coming of Christ. So it reminds you of Dave Koresh out of Texas and some of these other cult leaders. That he would play a significant role in the second coming of Christ, who would soon be returning to earth. Berg also maintained that he'd been in touch with a spirit guide named Abraham, who was relaying divine messages to him. So what about his teachings and practices? After claiming that God himself had gifted him with prophecies, Berg soon began making extreme demands of his followers. New members of the COG, Children of God, were asked to donate everything they owned to the group, then sever all contact with their families. They were also encouraged to give up any sort of employment and become full-time evangelists for Christ. COG, Children of God, formed communes across the country, and within just a few years, there were over 120 communities located around the globe. 120. In the mid-70s, Berg began to encourage the female members of COG to practice what he called flirty fishing, based upon Jesus' injunction in Matthew 4:19, which says, "Follow me and I will make you fishers of men." Berg instructed his female followers to go to bars, pick up men, and seduce them into converting and joining Children of God. In a 1979 annual report, Berg stated that his COG evangelist had witnessed to over 250,000 souls, loved over 25,000 of them, and won about 19,000 to the Lord. In 1978, Berg changed the group's name again to the Family of Love, and later changed it again to simply the Family. Sexual contact with potential converts became a routine practice within the group's membership, and in some cases, family evangelists even used escort services to identify potential targets for recruitment. How are we cross-pollinating Christianity, love for God, and SX? The practice of sexual sharing and open sexual relationships between existing members was encouraged. And then here comes some of the charges of this group. In 1989, the family issued a press release and official statement condemning SA acts involving minors, and announced that any members found to be abusing children would be immediately excommunicated. Former members of COG have been outspoken about the childhood abuse they suffered growing up in COG communes. Actress Rose Mcgowan lived with her parents in a COG group in Italy until she was 9 years old. In her memoir, Brave, Mcgowan wrote about her early memories of being beaten by cult members and recalled how the group advocated for SX relationships between adults and children. Christina Bobbin, whose parents raised her in COG, described the child abuse in the following terms. A letter arrived from the Children of God leader, Moses David, encouraging adults to teach children how to have SX, claiming it was healthy and good. And so the SX abuse began. I was violated in this way from the age of 12, too many times that I care to remember. But SX was encouraged with children who were far younger. Other notable former members include actor JOAQUIN PHEONIX, journalist Suzanne Dupuis, and Fleetwood Mac co-founder Jeremy Spencer. Following Berg's death in 1994, the family was taken over by his widow, Karen Zerby. In 1995, the group was the subject of a British lawsuit. Following a trial relating to the custody of a child born into the cult, the retired Honorable Lord Justice Ward wrote a 295-page opinion on the family. Ward determined that the group had permitted sex abuse of minors, deliberately isolated and sequestered children away from their parents, and used extensive corporal punishment. Ward also concluded by the time of the trial, these practices had ceased, and that he believed the family was not presently presenting an unsafe environment for children. The Family International is still an active group today. Former members continue to speak up about the abuse they faced during their time in the cult. So, to sum up this article and this storyline about the COG, Children of God, here are some of the fast facts. Children of God, also known as the Family and the Family International, began in the 1960s and is still active today. Because its leaders limited membership access to the outside world and asked them to give up money and possessions, Children of God is considered a cult. Numerous former members have alleged that as children, they experienced repeated physical, emotional, and SX abuse at the hands of COG members and leaders. So what does that tell you about some of these cults that are still in existence today? As a result of the advent of social media and many of these platforms and many of these entertainers that have gotten in trouble recently, you're starting to hear quite a bit about sex trafficking, human trafficking, child trafficking, that even the everyday person like as myself did not believe that it, or didn't know that it was this rampant. And of course, these cults are at the precipice of many of these alleged allegations, definitely against minors and women. If you're in a position where, or at a point in your life where you're in search of some answers about life and about God and which way you should go, I think seeking family, friends, and professionals, therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, in a true medical scenario and system is the best way to go. Definitely, I do not agree with meeting a complete stranger who tells you that a second coming of Christ or the next prophet and is speaking, and God is speaking through them, and you should follow them and give up all of your worldly possessions, not only physically, financially, but even emotionally, is not the way to go. You're talking about complete control of your mind, body, and soul through another human being. And we all know that we are all equal on this earth as humans, and your vestibule to God, or your highway to God, is not through another human being, whether it's prosperous preachers, these well-known folks you see on television, or even these cults. You're seeing repeated scenarios of how these cults try to start off as something positive, and of course they end up being demonic, devilish, and harmful to our human race. So just to give you a wake-up call, this place is still in existence, the Children of God, based out of California, and I think the last place that you should try to find answers for your existence on this earth is through another human being, let alone a cult. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience.